appears in the incarnation. The Lord's form as Kapila directs the fallen souls and enriches them with knowledge and devotion, so that they may go back to Goddess. There are many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like those of the boar, the fish, the tortoise, and the half-man, half-lion. Lord Kapila Dev is also one of the incarnations of Godhead. It is accepted herein that Lord Kapila Dev appeared on the surface of the earth to give transcendental knowledge to the misguided conditioned soul. Samdeya sancha prashamaya patmanam nidesha bhajam javabhova bhutaye yatavataras tava sukuradayas tatayam apyatma patopalabdaye. My dear Lord, you have assumed this body in order to diminish the sinful activities of the fallen and to enrich their knowledge in devotion and liberation. Since these sinful people are dependent on your direction, by your own will you assume incarnations as a boar and as other forms. Similarly, you have appeared in order to distribute transcendental knowledge to your dependents. So, according to the influence of the modes of material nature, sometimes living entities assume this body or that body. But sometimes they become degraded in extremely severe fashion. Generally, in the human form of life, one has the opportunity to make a good purpose or a good use of it and to actually go back home, back to Godhead. But in this condition whereby one is simply overwhelmed by the modes of material nature and does not know anymore right from wrong, how he'll ever come to the point of going back home, back to God? Practically, it's impossible. Therefore, struggle is going on, called the hard struggle for existence. The living entities in the material world are struggling. Struggling because in this world it's a struggle. You struggle because it's a struggle. This world is anyway difficult. Therefore, you must struggle in this world. Sometimes we create struggle in situations where there aren't any. That is because of the conditioned nature of living entities. But we are very much entangled in our own condition. This world is made of difficulty because of our condition. We are conditioned by the desire to be the enjoyer, to be the controller. We are conditioned by the previous activities which have occurred. Everybody has so many experiences which are in his mind. Memories which are continuously manifesting. Subconscious desires, subconscious experiences from the past, which are simply just manifesting and causing us difficulty by causing us to become or to fall back into previous modes of action, previous ideas. These problems which we face like this are very severe. In fact, they are the main problems. The main problems are that we are continuously falling back into the ideas of conditioned life. Unless one is pushing forward his spiritual advancement, he is going to be dragged backwards to his previous ideas. When one falls from Krishna consciousness, he falls back into his material idea, conditioned concept. But because he's falling, he can't just control it and it keeps on going. Thus he falls lower than before he tried to take up Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one must prevent these fall downs by continuously understanding the nature of conditioned life. The nature of conditioned life is that it's a great struggle. And that one must understand that the struggle in Krishna consciousness is not very great compared to the struggle that one must face continuously in material existence. The struggle in Krishna consciousness is simply that one must forget the previous conceptions and one must remember Krishna. That, of course, is a struggle. It is something which is difficult. But that's not so difficult as having to deal with the material nature as an active participant within it. That's really difficult. Especially if one has a little knowledge. How can those with a little knowledge of spiritual life tolerate, even for a moment, the great struggle that is going on in the material world? They won't be able to do it. They'll find it to be intolerable. Intolerable because there are so many problems in this world, so many difficulties. And they're all based on our own desires for eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and other things which are just as useless. Of course, materially we require. But when one has spiritual knowledge, he knows that to simply act for the sake of these things is a total waste of time. But if one supports himself with the right, but acts for the sake of spiritual advancement, then these activities have some value. It's like, what is the use of maintaining big temples if there's no preaching? We aren't out distributing books and preaching. What's the use of maintaining all these big temples? There's no value. And yet, because we are basically interested in eating, sleeping, and mating too, defending, one might even try to maintain even a religious institution without any preaching or teaching of the religious culture or philosophy. Because this way one may live nicely and not have to worry materially too much. But in fact, our preaching mission does not recommend retirement. Like old cows, you go off to the pasture and eat grass peacefully. It's not that we recommend the old devotees, go off to the pasture and retire like this. Our sampradaya is filled with examples of those who went on right up to the moment of death, engaged actively in the Krishna conscious movement's greatest ideal, the spreading of the holy name of Krishna, the knowledge of Krishna, like Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was so... he couldn't even chant. He couldn't even go on chanting many rounds. It's very much work to chant rounds. You need energy. And he was so old, there was just no way he could chant his prescribed number of rounds. 96. But he was trying to chant something, but he just could not go on. And Lord Chaitanya said, you don't have to. You already, in Namacharya, fully fixed in your chanting the holy name. If you cannot make all your rounds because of age, do not be worried. But then Haridas Thakur said, I think now I want to leave my body because of being so old. So we find that this example is there in all of the acharyas, right up to the last moment, engaging themselves in welfare activities for the sake of the world. Srila Prabhupada also, even writing up to the day before departing from this world, writing on his Srimad Bhagavatam. So we find that this great, great quality completely contradicts the material quality. The material quality is, if there's any trouble or difficulty, just put it aside, take rest, somehow be satisfied. Of course, there are a few in the mode of passion who will work themselves to death, or work right up to the point of death, having some goal to accomplish, conquering a country, making millions, making an empire, whatever. But even these activities, although they bring about some form of satisfaction to some extent, at the moment of death also seem to be quite unimportant. What has importance and value is establishing Krishna consciousness within oneself, and automatically that means establishing Krishna consciousness within others. Therefore we continuously go on with this Krishna conscious mission. Always go on. That is why we are distributing books during the Christmas marathon with great enthusiasm. And also, we like to do that all year long with great enthusiasm, because that is our mission. It is our mission to publish these transcendental literatures and distribute them widely. If you don't distribute, how can you publish? The two are completely connected. The production and distribution are connected, like hand and glove. So we find that we should go on and continue our transcendental activities. For this is the means by which the whole world may become freed from the great pit of material existence. We find Lord Kapila has come to give knowledge of the spiritual soul, to give knowledge of what is actual proper action and what is improper action. What is proper, what is improper. One must know this in order to continue, or one must know this in order to act without being bound up by sinful activity. If one knows how to act, then one will not engage himself in sinful activity. He will act according to proper activity, not according to sinful activity. This material world is a place of suffering for many, but it can become a place where one charts his course through the dense darkness of the material energy by following that light which is given by the spiritual master. And one will be able to overcome the dense darkness of material suffering. One will be able to come to the point of transcendental knowledge. So to get to the point of Krishna consciousness, one has to go through the dense darkness of the oblivion of the material energy. We want to get to this point. Therefore we are engaging ourselves fully in trying to please Krishna every day, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, taking Krishna prasadam, coming to the programs, hearing Krishna's philosophy, following the principles of Krishna consciousness, and thus engaged fully in Krishna's service, we are able to overcome the dense darkness of this material and energy. But as soon as one steps outside of this arrangement, then the material darkness just overcomes one and gives one all kinds of anxieties. So, the material world is a tough place, and it's not getting any easier, it's getting tougher day by day. So we should understand this. And we should know that if you want to get out of this tough place, you've got to be a little tough in spiritual life. One has got to be a little strong to go on despite the unlimited sledgehammer blows to the skull delivered by Maya. Of course, Maya is capable of giving you the knockout punch. You know the knockout punch? In the boxers, when they hit each other, one goes, another one goes, bam. So, Maya can give you the knockout punch. But if you're depending on Krishna, you'll be able to somehow duck when it comes. You can see the knockout punch coming, so you just duck. And you hope that you'll be able to somehow survive. Yeah. So, if we just have to learn how to depend on Krishna, that's all. That's all. That's the whole secret. If you can actually depend on Krishna in any and all circumstances, then you are going to go back home, back to God. And if one somehow forgets Krishna, or one somehow acts outside of Krishna consciousness, then it's very difficult. So, please, go on serving Krishna. Don't stop. No matter what happens, whatever knockout punch Maya's throwing, even if you find yourself on the floor, just get up again, dust yourself off, and keep on going. Sometimes there's knockout, but after all, the fighter gets up again later on. Unless they have to carry him off in a stretcher. If Maya carries you off in a stretcher, then this is very bad. But if Maya gives you the knockout punch and you just don't duck in time, when the referee finishes counting to 10, and you might finally manage to get yourself off the floor, on your own power, well then just keep on going. You may be a little bruised. You may have some puffy eyes, lips blown out of shape, and nose bent in another way. But that's just the body after all. One has to go on serving Krishna in all conditions of life. So just keep on going. And that will bring actually the greatest satisfaction. Ultimately, we don't guarantee immediate bliss, quick bliss. We guarantee a chance to get long-term, eternal bliss. Easy come, easy go. If we had quickie bliss process, then you would also have quickie misery process, because that's the material world. Easy come, easy go. But the spiritual world is eternal. Eternal bliss. You got to work for it. And sometimes the whole world may be seeming to be total chaos. But one has to just go on serving Krishna. And somehow it becomes like an island of sanity in the midst of swirling chaos. So let us just try to serve Krishna, because that will protect us. And as soon as we give up and sit around all day and feel sorry for ourselves, then Maya has got us. So let us depend on Krishna, serve Krishna nicely, and go on.